What is going on, everybody? It is Brutal Rob Hands, walking the streets. So, walking down, what is this? Walking down North Main Street in Lakeport. So I am on my way to Enterprise right now. Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We got, today is Stoner U Dojo training in Oakland. Saturday is Hood Slam in Reno. So, if anybody knows me, they know that I value my 2017 Escape, and I value trying to keep it running till at least 200,000 miles or more. So there is no way, shape, or form I am driving my car to Oakland tonight, driving my car to Reno on Sunday, all while doing gig work in between. No. I'll go get a rental car, go to training, go to Reno, and do a bunch of gig work in between then. Take the car back on Monday, start a whole new week. Boom! There's a way where I was able to make some money without ruining my car for a week. So, I'm 90% sure, maybe 99% sure today is November 13th. In 32 days, 30 days, 31 days, 32 days, whatever it is, in a month, I will be turning 35. So that means I'm turning 35. Oh, cool, there's my cousin driving by in the trash truck. If I'm 35, that means I've spent over a decade in pro wrestling. I did security and ring crew for my first show. Oh, they're coming this way. There's my cousin, my childhood friend going by in his trash truck right there. So, 35, gonna be 35. I had my first show where I did ring crew when I was 20. I went to my first ever training session at the APW garage when I was 21. Got into a little bit of trouble, which is kind of what this video is about today. Got into a little bit of trouble at the end of 2011. Had to do some things to get my life somewhat back on track. And I definitely didn't get it back on track. I just went and got a license and some income. And started attending shows and doing ring crew again. Early 2013. And the plan was, at the beginning of 2014, I was going to return to APW to train as a referee. So if anybody's in the NorCal area that's watching this video and noticing the timeline that I'm talking about right here, November of 2013, APW, planning to return there the following January, knows that anybody who knows where I'm going with this knows that the owner and operator of APW, Roland Alexander, passed away on the 13th, or in 2013 of November of 2013. He passed away. APW, for the most part, as a company, shut their doors. They still kind of hung around with the brand name, with the APW brand name for a couple years afterwards. But as far as the way that I looked at APW being in the garage with Jim Moore's and the APW garage, that closed up the few days after Roland passed away, and we did the final show there. So, before Roland's passing, I had a handful of friends who were training. It wasn't even called Stoner U at this point. It was just the Victory Warehouse, where Derek Mill, Dustin Mill, the Suburban Commando, Stoner Brothers, and Dark Sheik were all living there. So, and they were just training people. It was those three, Coach Nugs, and basically there was a handful of kids that were kind of like me. They had trained at other places. Just for whatever reason, it didn't work out, and now they're not really in a wrestling school. We're just here at the warehouse training to be wrestlers. So I had a couple of friends, a couple people I knew that were doing that. Also on top of that, I was going to, once I got my license back, I had been going to a lot of Hood Slams and also staying over. I would go to Hood Slam and I would stay overnight at the Victory Warehouse. A lot of times there'd be like an APW or something the next day in the same area. So I had been hanging out with the twins and that kind of crew over there more often than I used to. And with Roland's passing, I'd already been thinking about just going over. Maybe I don't want to be a referee. Maybe I want to try wrestling one last time. And with Roland's passing, it felt like I had to make that decision. So November of 2013, I went to my first training session at the Victory Warehouse. Over the next several years, that morphed into officially becoming Stoner U, and the rest is history. But yeah, 2013 in November, I restarted my training at the Stoner U dojo, or the Victory Warehouse. January of 14, I was in my first ever battle royal. March of 14, I was in a match under a mask, getting jobbed out by Cold Beer on a Monday night St. Patrick's Day Hood Slam. About a month later, April 20th, it was Easter and 420. That's what I celebrate, is 420. I had my first ever match as myself, as Bobby Burger Hands, and I got my teeth nearly kicked down my throat by Coach Nugs. I sat there after that match and contemplated if I really wanted to be a wrestler. And then luckily a week later, I had my first ever show at the flea market, and that kind of gave me a little bit of confidence back. And then come June of 2014, I officially debuted alongside Scott Rick Stoner, Coach Joey Nugs, Missy Hayashit, also known as Shotzi Blackheart, and I was brought in to Stoner U, the stable of Stoner U. I was brought in as Bobby Burger Hands, the water boy, and that was June of 2014 where I really, really started my actual in-ring career in the business. So, "15 years later from starting at APW, give or take, 14, 13, 15, whatever, we got to be honest here. No, I am not in the WWE. No, I am not in AEW. No, I'm not a high-profile indie talent. I'm just a guy doing something that I've watched on TV since I was 8 and fell in love with. So, while I don't have, from a fan's perspective, I might not have the things that make me a success in professional wrestling, i.e. contracts, i.e. legions of fans, i.e. I wrestle 5 days out of the week, whatever. Ooh, shit, that was a big drop-off. Got some methtivities going on out here. So anyways, I might not have any of those things, but Jesus. While I might not have any of those things, what I do have is the fact that I am a wrestler. I do something that I've wanted to do ever since I was a kid. I have my own place, and no roommates. I have a nice car that I enjoy, and I do things to keep it running and keep extreme miles off of it while I'm walking to Enterprise. And I have a lifestyle that I can work when I want. I can stop working when I want. I can choose to work when I want. And I can choose not to work when I want. So, yes, I'm not in AEW, I'm not in WWE, I don't have all of those things that people might consider what makes you a success in wrestling. But no, I have my own place where I live by myself. I have a nice car that I'm not always having to fill up some, I'm not about to go on a wrestling trip and I gotta fill this up, or I gotta pour something in this, or I gotta jump this, or whatever. I don't gotta worry about all that. As long as I maintain and keep my car nice, which I do. And I can work whenever I want. So while I might not have those things that are general successes, the fact of the matter is, anytime someone hits me up for a booking, 98.8% of the times, I'm going to be able to say yes. Unless I'm double booked, or there's just geographically it might be impossible for me to pull that off if I have another show or something. So I can take any wrestling bookings I feel like taking when they're offered to me. I can spend my time working out at home, playing video games, visiting my mom and my family, because I live up here near them. and I get to go and wrestle, and I don't have to clock in to a job, something I haven't had to do for 5 years. Now, granted, for 2.5 of those 5 years that I haven't had a job, I wasn't wrestling because of COVID. So it's only been about 2.5 years where I've been an active wrestler and not had a 1099 job. Or I'm sorry, not had a W-2 job. And you know what? At the end of the day, that's how I feel like a success. Is that I found a way to basically do what I want to do in life, which is go hang out with my friends and go wrestle. And then when I'm not out wrestling and being social and being way more social than I ever am, I get to go home and be at my house where I live by myself, nobody around, I can poop with the door open, all that good stuff. And to maintain all of that, I don't have to clock into a job. Yes, now, I'm probably not, because nobody comments on my videos, so I ain't going to say, oh, now I'm going to get people in the comments. No. But if people did comment on my videos, I would be having people in the comments going, hey, man, you still got to log into an app every day, whether it's Uber or it's DoorDash or it's Roadie, you still got to log into an app. Yes, you're correct. And I will balance that with traveling to a wrestling show. Let's throw Hood Slam out there. Let's throw Hood Slam out there. Let's throw Hood Slam. Let's throw Hood Slam. Let's throw a Hood Slam show in if I had a regular job. So, hopefully, I have a job that'll allow me to take Fridays and the weekends off, or at least get off early on Fridays. If that's not the case, that means, I don't know, I might have to work till 2 or 3 o'clock at my regular job on a Friday, hop in my car and mash the 3 hours to Oakland so I can get to the Metro, or I can get to the Continental Club by 6. And then I got to do the show. I got to drive home, probably get home 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And then I got to get up and clock back in to the job I got. If I don't have weekends off, I got to clock back in to where I work, maybe 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, that sucks. I've done that. It's not fun at all. Tell you, man, there's nothing, I hated that. I hated going and doing Friday night, I'd go do a Hood Slam, feel like a rock star. Saturday night, I'd go up to Sacramento, do Virgil Film Productions, feel like a rock star. Sunday, whatever would go on Sundays, you know, maybe it was just something as simple as Legends of the Gold Mines. Still, man, I spent all weekend dressing up, wrestling, having fun, being entertaining, charismatic. And now, I gotta go at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday and ask if you want eggs on your Crunch Wrap. That sucked, man. I hated it. So, let's go ahead and look at what going and doing a Hood Slam is like as a gig worker. In fact, I will base it off of last Hood Slam. So I got up 6-ish in the morning, took a shower, packed my car with my gear, my food for the day, my gimmick, smoked a joint, hit the road. Now, it takes me about a tank of gas to drive to a wrestling show. So that's what I do, is I go out and I do gig work and I make over a tank of gas on my way to a wrestling show. So that's what I did. I left my house about 7 or 8. I worked my way down to Oakland. I think I was done around 1:30. Yeah, because it was like 1:30 where I stopped. I stopped where I was in Santa Rosa. I stopped and ate my lunch and then drove to Oakland, got to the tow yard at 3-ish, 4-ish, and got to basically hang out and have fun with my friends till the match happened. Drive home, get home, and not having to worry about, oh man, I gotta make sure I just go right to bed to get some rest. No, I got home, I unpacked my bag, I cooked some food in the air fryer, I smoked a little more pot, and then I went to bed. And I slept till give or take about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then 3 o'clock in the afternoon hits, what did I do? I got up, showered, smoked a joint, I logged into the app, and then I made a quick $40 before I was ready for the day to be over. Like, that's so much better. Logging into an app after coming home from a wrestling show and waking up the day after a wrestling show and logging into an app to make money, forcing yourself to log into an app to make money not only makes yourself feel better, it's a way better experience because you're hustling and disciplining yourself, but also not only you feel better about it in that sense because you're doing it yourself. Logging into an app is a way better experience than I guess medical professionals don't give a fuck about pedestrians, do they? That's a much better experience than clocking into a job. And I know because I worked at Taco Bell for 4 or 5 years. The whole time I was wrestling. I've done gig work for 5 years. 2.5 of those 5, I've been wrestling again. And I'll take this over having to have a regular job any day, especially as a wrestler. And that's how I label myself as a success in wrestling. And now that we're 22 minutes into this video, and we're about 4 minutes away from Enterprise, I'm going to give you the last reason why my 15, 14, 13 years in wrestling is a success in my eyes. Because the simple fact of the matter is, if I want to be a pro wrestler, I'd be in prison. Simple as that, man. I'd either be in prison or I'd be where I am right now on the street. But not walking to Enterprise to go pick up a rental car. I'd be living out here. When I was originally at APW, I was originally training there, I ran with a really, really bad crowd. A lot of the people that I hung out with were gang affiliated. I was never a member myself. I'm not gonna claim to be anything like that. I'm just a white boy from the sticks. But I had a lot of friends that, involved in that lifestyle, and I partied with them. I hung out with them. I got into trouble with them. November of 2011, while training at APW, I was involved in a high-speed police chase when I was drunk out of my mind. I was blackout drunk. Cops tried to pull me over, and I took off on them and crashed the car like a block up the road. At the end of the day, that basically I had to stop wrestling because I lost my license, I lost my car, I lost my job. I was soon to be losing my freedom. So that happened in November. And then I had to turned myself in 2 months later in January, the end of January. I had to go and serve 2 months in county. So while I was in there for that time, I was in there with a lot of older people. And when I mean older people, I mean I was in there with guys that this is what they've been doing their whole life. They would go to jail, stay there for a couple months, get out, run the streets, do whatever they did, and then they'd be right back, back in jail within a couple months. And that was a cycle. Never had to worry. I could see, man, that's easy. You never got to worry about anything because you can just go out and run the streets and knowing that you're going to be back in jail within a few months and have a roof and food and a bed, all that sort of stuff. What's the point? And I remember sitting there that 2 months realizing how easy that life was, how easy it was to live a life like that and just be in and out of jail for the rest of my life. And that's my personality. That's the thing too. That's what these guys' personality was. The fact that they were OG in the penal system. That's their personality. The fact that I've spent 20 years in and out of the penal system. So that's who I am. And that's when I realized that I had two choices. I could get out, get my life on track. At the time, try to get back to APW and be a wrestling referee. Or I could spend my life like all these guys that I'm in the dorm with. And that was basically, had I not had, because I got out of jail and literally the day after I had gotten released from jail, me and one of my old friends, one of my gang affiliated friends, and another one of our friends are high and drunk off our asses, mashing around San Francisco, getting kicked out of restaurants, getting kicked out of clubs. Eventually, we ended the night spinning out and going into a ditch. Luckily, the car was still drivable, so we were able to get home. But that was one day after being out of jail. I had my tax return from the job that I had lost. It was like $2,000 in a tax return sitting there for me when I got out of jail. I blew that in less than a month on cocaine and alcohol. So obviously my mindset wasn't changed when getting out of jail. I was still acting the same way, but in the back of my mind, I knew I wanted to go back to APW and be a referee. I knew I wanted to get back to wrestling. And thankfully, my mom ended up hooking me up with a job where she worked, and that slowly started the process of getting my life back on track enough to where I could go back to wrestling. Because that's where I'm going to end this video right now. That's how I feel like I'm a success in wrestling, is when I got released from jail in March of 2012, I had two choices. Just become a loser for the rest of my life going in and out of jail, or actually try to make my way back to wrestling. And if I didn't have that end goal, there'd be no Brutal Rob Hands, there'd be no Burger Hands. I wouldn't have the friends that I had today. I just have a bunch of people that I met in my years of going in and out of the Hill Road Correctional Facility. Anyways, I'm an enterprise. Anybody from Stoner U watching this, I'll see you tonight. Anybody else, I'll see you guys in the next video.